Welcome back. We had a great session with Lisa and with Eric. And again, if you have not checked out the Meridian Senior Center or your local senior center, that is a great place to connect, build and maintain relationships, and get a good hot meal once a day. That's great stuff. Next, we're talking with Dr. Desai, who, well, one of our guests from the earlier session was explaining how Dr. Desai is the considered. Now, I know you don't consider yourself this way because you're very humble, and I appreciate that. But as one of the preeminent resources, is it okay for people to be resources? What resources are for folks that are aging and running into issues with their aging? We got a lot of stuff to talk about, so I'll quit blabbering. And Dr. Desai, take just a minute and give us a little bit of your background.
Yeah. So Abhilash Desai, I'm from India. I have a wife, Faith Galliano Desai, Italian.
Oh my goodness.
Love her. And a handsome, smart son. He's 19.
How did that mix?
Alexander.
So Alexander, how did that mix Italy and India? I mean, they both start with I, so that's great. But how does that mix work with him?
Well, it's working out great. His first name is American, Alexander. Middle name is Galliano, Italian. And last name is Desai. So he has 3 cultural heritage.
Very good.
I know.
Well, and you know what? Younger people do this better, I think, than older people do.
No, I have to correct you. I'm a geriatric psychiatrist. I have a very different opinion.
Excellent. I love it. I love it. Tell us a little bit about your education. A psychiatrist has a medical degree first, right?
Correct.
And so you've done a ton of schooling.
Right. So med school in India, and then psychiatry residency in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Hahnemann University Hospital, then geriatric psychiatry fellowship at St. Louis University School of Medicine, Missouri. And then for 23 years, I've been practicing as a psychiatrist, geriatric psychiatrist, and love the world, dementia world, and do everything I can to reduce the risk for me, friends, family, and my patients, community. And then obviously, help people with dementia.
Right.
Across all stages, from very early to end of life.
Which Eric Colette, who
Yes.
was explaining that we're not going to keep people from dying. It's going to happen some point, right?
Yes.
Even if we improve our health, maybe not as soon, but that's going to happen.
I would go one step ahead and say that, at least that's my perspective, that's a good thing because it makes us more aware of the importance of living.
Oh, very good. Very good. Lisa Hansen from the Senior Center mentioned that one thing that she sees among the folks that come is some stress as people grow older.
Mm-hmm.
And when they start to kind of realize that, there's some mortality to this mortality.
Right.
She sees people getting a little bit stressed about that. Is this a common thing as people age? I've been around enough older people, maybe old enough, that they were like, yeah, whose turn is it?
Right.
Yeah, Bill died in his sleep last night. And I don't know, they seem kind of okay with it. So what do you see?
Well, both research and I've also seen that although that is true, aging and health and disability and the prospect of being closer to dying is stressful and anxiety generating. It's not a bad anxiety for many, all right, because it helps them sort of see this as a challenge and rise to it. So then they will change their priorities, and that's a good thing, because then they won't engage in things that they truly, their heart is not there, and engage more in social interactions and hobbies that sort of stops them in their tracks, you know?
I heard someone say that as they got older and their health was maybe not, they were not as strong as they used to be. It did rearrange their priorities, and then you could tell what they thought was the most important. And that became their hobby or their focus. And I, stress seems to be prevalent anyway. We came out of the COVID wars, or I think we're out of the COVID wars, but that was hard on so many people. I mean, we saw isolation, and I have stories about individuals that we have an older lady who's passed away now, but she called us up and said, "Can your son come and mow my lawn?" And we came over, and here was a lady that was 96 or 97, relatively good health. But she'd really kind of alienated her family. And we came to the door, we knocked on it, and she yelled and said, "Come on in," meaning it was unlocked, which concerned me a little bit. And we came in, and she had her recliner in front of this huge TV. You know, it had to be 65 inches.
Right.
And that appeared to be her day. That was her activity, and that was her socialization.
Correct.
That she was watching. When we were there, it was on a news channel. So I would not be surprised if she watched a lot of news.
Right.
And I was a little depressed looking at that, thinking, oh my gosh. But I don't know that she's alone.
Right. I
think there's a lot of people that, I don't know, get this feeling, well, I know what's going on in the world.
Right.
And watching some of the news outlets, I'm not sure that that's accurate, that you actually know what's going on in the world. So for folks, let's talk to the families here for a moment. So we're talking families, you know, what's wrong with that picture?
Well, again, to me, there are a few people who are alone, but not lonely. So we need to keep that in mind.
Got it.
They enjoy solitude, they're content. They are engaging in all kinds of cognitively stimulating life. They challenge themselves. They're physically active. They're socially active at the level they want
to be. Yeah.
Right. And they're leading a very deep spiritual life. So we should learn from them. And that's the problem, is sometimes our media and, you know, other sources don't highlight that group.
Well, because they have nothing to gain from that group, right? So they're not going to want other people, or many other people, to lead that kind of a lifestyle, because they can't, you know, they can't get them to buy their stuff and to watch, you know, spend the time on the TV. So yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. So it's really important then for us to know, number one, that there are people who are doing successful aging and beautifully with grace, and, you know, it blows our mind away. Then find them, and they're all around. Sometimes, you know, I am living in my head, so I don't see sometimes people right next to me, you know. So we need to get out of our head and live in the physical reality. I see you, tell me about your life, compared to, yes, but 90% of the time I'm in my own world, even though I'm talking to you.
Interesting. Well, let's say though, for those folks, and I know a few that are like that, they're doing fine. Thank you very much. I see them at church. They come, and that is about as much social stimulation as they want to have.
Right.
But I also see those that really not doing well within, we would look at it and say the isolation. And I'm guessing there's a lot of issues once they isolate themselves like that.
Correct. So social isolation, unfortunately, is a risk factor for dementia. We don't realize that. We always think, physical conditions like hypertension, diabetes. We don't realize that there are psychological and social factors that can affect our brain negatively and positively. So we have to take this extremely seriously, social isolation. But my perspective is that we should see it as our responsibility 80% and the person's responsibility 20%.
Oh, really?
Right.
I don't like that.
I know. That's why you have a different perspective.
Okay.
80% is you and me. So if that person is not doing well, it's because you and I are not doing our part in helping that person.
Very good.
Right. So our community is not stepping up. Friends are not stepping up. Family members are not stepping up. The church community is not stepping up. Everybody's in their own world. So another example is like, if the plant is not growing, right? I don't see you yelling at the plant saying, how could you? You need to step up. You'll be saying, what am I doing wrong? Maybe I'm not watering enough or watering too much, or right?
Yeah, not enough sunlight.
So that's 80%.
That's a good one.
And obviously, you and I are not off the hook. We have responsibility.
Yeah.
So that person is not off the hook. They have responsibility that they need to get up from the couch. They need to turn the bloody TV off. They need to put the phone away, and all the things you guys talked about just earlier, and do all those things.
What's interesting though is we talk about that with the kids, right? or parents with kids in the home is we got to turn the screens off. We talk about that and push that. You got to turn those screens off. They're killing you. But we don't think about it, I don't think.
But that's 20%.
Yeah.
You have to first ask, am I doing my 80%?
Oh, got it. Okay. Well, but let's compare for a moment then, though, and contrast younger people living with their screens all the time, right? And how does that compare or contrast with an older person who's living with screens?
So again, same things apply. If they have seen, the younger people have seen us spending a lot of time on TV, it's just a different screen, and they have chosen something else, social media. That's all. So what have they seen? What do they see not only at home, but what do they see with their friends? What do they see in the friend's family when they visit? So again, our culture, our society will have a tremendous influence on them, even if you as a parent are doing everything as much as is possible. I'm a parent, so I feel sometimes parents don't get the credit they should get. But on a side note, so yes, and same thing with any age group, all right? So if they are watching too much TV and being on social media, their friends are watching too much. Now these are quote elderly. Then they haven't seen a different world. But if they have even one friend who's not doing all that, they will witness the effect. Like that person will be happier, have more energy, will be more positive. and all that also infects us, not just negativity.
So you're saying something I think that we presume, and I would love it if you kind of unpacked that just a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, I presume a negative impact by being, tied to the screens all the time. Um, One, is that true? And two, how does that work? What is it that we are getting or not getting from the screens?
Right. So number one, it's all relative, which means that if you don't watch TV, all right, even if it's all negative news and doom and gloom, what are you doing otherwise? If that is even worse, using drugs, like that, having cannabis and alcohol, then I would say you watch all
Go
these
ahead and watch
toxic TV. But if I'm replacing that by even 1 hour, if you reduce that, but that 1 hour you are doing a Zoom call, even if it's not
Yeah.
physical. Ideally, obviously, it's physical, nothing like this, right? But let's say even a Zoom call for 1 hour with family and friends, and you're being silly, then you're gone to the next level, the 2.0 version. And then you start with 1 hour and you try and expand it. But again, as I said, it's number one, not easy. So 20% it's there. They need to do that, each person, you and I. And 80%, our community needs to really help each other.
So, is this a daily thing? We should find an hour or two within a day. I mean, to start with, where we're reading a book, we're having social interaction, coffee with a friend, arguing
Mark,
with a friend.
you only have today.
That's true.
That's it.
Wait,
There is no guarantee for tomorrow.
always tomorrow.
Let me correct you.
I
No,
belong,
I'm just kidding.
I belong to the procrastinators club. I always keep something for tomorrow. Very good. So social interaction, the face-to-face, you're saying that has a huge impact on
Evolutionary program. You cannot turn that off, the benefits. It's like exercise. Even if you feel you're not going to benefit, you will benefit.
got it.
Period.
Well, and so interesting to me is that your son drinks from the Indian culture and the Italian, which both of them talk a lot with their hands. Does he talk with his feet too? I mean, good grief.
My wife is more observant than I am. So I have to think what does he talk with his feet?
Oh, very good. Well, so those are societies over time where that is vastly important to talk. That social interaction.
Personality, it could be too much,
Yeah.
So I have to be prepared if I'm, entering the Italian world or the Indian world, because the family and friends, want you to be with them all the time.
Right. And
I love it, but not everybody would. So I don't know.
In this country, we can get a little too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this year, everybody's, I think, on a starvation diet.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I served a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I was in Europe, Belgium and France. And I remember as we walked through the park, there was always a gaggle of older ladies. They were knitting or crocheting and they were talking, and this was always going on.
Right.
And the men were over there either just sitting and maybe having a beer, because even in France they will drink a beer, warm usually, but hey, or they were playing, is it pétanque, the balls, and they were just always talking.
Right.
And you would think that they didn't like each other. because they were arguing about this, they were arguing about that. But what you're saying is great.
Oh my goodness.
Awesome.
If you did all the fancy biomarker studies in them, all right, so you know their stress level, hormone levels, you know their prefrontal cortex firing, all right, you know the immune system, the benefits of this will be off the charts. I won't have to even convince you, you know, that will convince you more.
Very good. I will work on that.
Today.
Today, I will have a discussion with you today.
Mark, you're drawing a line in the sand.
Yes, yeah, but it's only a small line because I'm not going to be here tomorrow. What about fishing?
Again, you know, again, we have to also realize that the activity can have benefits in terms of maintenance. So if you're always fishing, you love fishing, all right, then it's part of your, you know, wellness that you will need to have because it's become now a need, not a want.
Got it.
All right. So it's gone to the next level, but it's a good level, you know, it's like relationship. We need friends, right? So that's the level of fishing. But if say, I haven't done fishing, but I think about it, I think I would enjoy it. And if my life is like just busy, the health benefits for me would be 5 times the health benefits for you because I'm starting with such a low point.
Oh,
does that make sense?
And I'm not a big fisherman, have a little bit, but usually back in the days with the Boy Scouts, we go out and we show them a little bit of fishing, but it does force you to be quiet. It does force you to get away from things. It does for most people, not everybody.
Right.
It brings the stress level down. The heart slows down a little bit. Your breathing slows down, and you're just out there, you know, enjoying it.
Yeah. But not only that, it's like turning off the car. Is your car? Do you drive here?
Yeah.
Is your car on now?
No.
Why would you turn it off?
Well, because one, gas is $4.35 a gallon.
And the car won't be there tomorrow.
And
if you keep treating it like that.
That's true, yeah.
But same thing, we have to turn ourselves off. We can't be like on all the time.
Yeah, very good. Very good. So, so we've talked a little bit about some of the impacts of the, you know, of isolation. Drill in a little bit more for me, if you would, sitting there watching the 24-hour news cycle. First of all, I can't stand because they give you some news in the first 15 minutes, and then they go on and on and on and on, and they don't tell you anything new. You know, it's just going on about this. That can't be good for us.
No, it's not. So I provide special service where I tell my patients that if you want to know what's new in the news, call me and I'll tell you. And when they call me, I tell them, I don't know whether I'm supposed to use foul language, but same S another day.
Yes.
So
SS, it's SSDD.
there you go.
So that's our.
So I say that, there you go, there's your news for today.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing really worth really knowing, you know.
But they're getting pounded though with.
So what happens now is that, remember, we are evolutionarily programmed to respond to threat.
Yeah.
Right? By raising our blood pressure, stress hormone levels. The problem is the brain, you know, if you leave it to itself, is somewhat stupid. So it'll think that all this is a threat to you.
Got it.
So your body's freaking out, even if you're sitting in the house and you have beer and you have, you know, all kinds of cookies, and, you know, nobody's going to attack you, you know, there's no avalanche falling on you, you know.
But it doesn't matter.
Your body's reacting in a very different way. And if it's 1 hour, it's okay. But every day,
yeah,
you know, studies again have shown that chronic stress, and this is what will cause you chronic stress. And remember, you'll get desensitized. So you won't even know that your body is in chronic stress.
Oh,
Are
boy.
you with me? Right. But this chronic stress is shortening your telomere, your chromosome section, which means it's accelerating your aging.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing then is one way to live longer is turn off the news.
Or just whatever your minimum is, each of
Right.
us,
Catch a half an hour, catch the national news.
really desperate, and you will go into withdrawal syndrome, and you will start screaming, Dr. Desai, you're horrible.
Yeah, well, I find that reading a newspaper is better for me because then I can pick and choose, right? I can read the headline and the first paragraph.
But it's more active. So there are other benefits that you didn't know. So your more brain networks will get stimulated, and you'll have better cognitive workout.
Got it. Well, that makes sense. So when we were talking about conversations with people, doesn't have to be very intellectually stimulating.
I would say the variety, it's like that finance thing, right? you diversify, right? Same thing. You have serious, intense, passionate conversations,
Yes.
like the Italian guys who are yelling at each other. And you have to be silly. And if you can't be silly, you need an appointment with me.
Okay. Oh, I appreciate that. I have some people. Oh my goodness gracious.
How's your silly quotient?
Ask. They'll tell you. It's pretty good.
Yeah, way to go, Mark.
I can compete with my 4-year-old granddaughter.
No way.
Oh yeah, yeah. We can do. Yeah. Well, excellent. That's good. So, sense of humor. I heard one gentleman say, going through life without a sense of humor is like driving down the road in a car without a, suspension system, without shock absorbers. Just kind of, you hit it. Yeah. Oh, and everything's so hard when it hits. Oh my goodness. All right. So let's talk about some other factors that so we got the stress, and that is not good for cognitive health.
We need to talk about cute factor.
I was going to ask you about being cute because you were explaining we should not be cute.
No, or as less as possible. So just to clarify, it's an acronym, CUTE. So cute stands for crushing, unrealistic, toxic expectations. So we should not subject ourselves to our own cuteness, and we should not subject definitely our loved ones. We need to spare them of our cuteness, because life, as you said, is hard enough, and so we need to just, if you're not sure, then just stop, think, reflect whether your expectations are unrealistic, and if not, maybe worthwhile to reassess.
So as you said that, one of the first things I thought is that we have a society that's built
Correct.
on unrealistic expectations.
Correct.
You see the models, men and women, on TV, and how well they do because they're unrealistically pretty. And they all drive these cars that who can afford them, right? But then there's this expectation. So it just, as I was thinking through that, that's one thing that the media, social media.
I would go to the next step. It's our culture. It's everywhere, Mark.
Yeah, it's not good enough that your kids are happy, right?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That itself should be like you should get a Nobel Prize.
Yeah. Well, but you have that conversation. Oh, my son's doing this, and my daughter, and you're like, my kids are doing okay. They're happy.
Correct.
They like to get together.
Correct.
It's noisy when they are, but there's a lot of laughter.
Correct.
But that's not good enough, it seems.
Yeah. Well, I love America, right? America is a young country.
Yeah, it is.
So how can it not be ambitious? All young countries at some point were ambitious. We would not be, we would not have reached the moon. Recently, apparently NASA has knocked out a comet just to see if it can.
I know, that was amazing.
Like, whoa,
Yeah.
right. So that didn't happen without ambition, right? So we have to we can't throw the baby with the bathwater, okay? But that's where, if you and I are not sure, we need sort of others to help us be more realistic. Because if in trying to reach, I'm being so cranky that nobody can live with me, I need to at least know that, that I'm paying a price for all these ambitions of mine.
Well, but I think that's very common.
I know.
I think the folks that I know that aren't affected by that, and I imagine we're all affected to one degree or another.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the folks that don't succumb to it, they're not that many that just like, this is my life,
Right.
this is what I do.
Right.
Right. You might not like it, but I'm enjoying it. It's like those that are alone but not lonely.
Right.
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 Do you have any tips, any help for what's a realistic expectation versus an unrealistic expectation?
Yeah, as you mentioned, right, aging and death. So it'll be unrealistic to think that with aging, nothing negative will come. It's unrealistic to think that you will somehow be the first person to beat death.
Well,
and that's that. You might say, you know what, I'm fine with, but then you have to also be realistic that your loved ones, and if you're not ready for your loved ones to be sick and your heart to be broken, you need to again see me.
Yeah, that's not.
I'll bring you to reality.
Thank you. But you know what? We have a bunch of folks that are cryogenically frozen, waiting for, I don't know what they're waiting for sure, but they're going to be unfrozen and, they'll live forever or whatever that might be,
Right.
which is interesting. There's also, I think, a number of interesting expectations that, yes, I'm going to age, but I'm going to act or look like I'm still in my 20s or my 30s. Mm-hmm. And I know a number of folks that actually seem to be addicted to cosmetic surgery, for example. Yeah. Or these different things. They're not comfortable with
Right.
who they are.
Right.
Now, but this seems to be an interesting thing because we don't move forward unless we're a little bit uncomfortable with who we are, right?
That is, to me, there's no other way.
Right.
My own perspective,
But so how do we draw the line when, okay, I need to move forward, I need to do better. Where's that line when it's like, okay, but now this is too much?
Right. Well, see, again, it depends on your own capacity to tolerate reality. Not everybody is strong in terms of the inner strength, resilience. So it's like physical strength, you have to match how much reality they can truly face with what level of inner strength they have.
Yeah.
And then if they're open, so that's that 20%, they have to be open, then we can help them build their inner strength, their resilience. That way, then they'll be able to face more and more reality, and then they won't seek all these other things to not see reality. And actually, then they might have a more beautiful, deeper, richer life with more laughter.
So laughter for you is a pretty good indicator of how people are doing.
Nothing, yes and no, in the sense that, we are living so long that we can't just have one investment in humor.
Yeah.
You have to have multiple, what I call, not I, but somebody has called weapons of the soul.
Okay.
So humor is a weapon of the soul, but it's just one. All right. And in this life, you better have more than one.
Yeah.
So this is Viktor Frankl.
Yes.
There you go. So
Yeah.
these are his words.
Oh,
Humor is a weapon of the soul
So
in the
very
fight
good.
for self-preservation. So have other weapons too. We all need to become armed and dangerous.
So, because I'm curious, when you sit down with a person, what kind of questioning do you use to find out how resilient
Right.
they are?
Well, first I ask them what matters to you, because I need to know if let's say they say that not being a burden is the top thing that matters to them.
Got it.
All right. Then everything else will flow from that.
All
you
right.
know. So if then we go into, so this is your lifestyle. And is this road going to lead you to this? And that's my job. And 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 go from there. And their answers will gradually tell me, are they willing to invest energy and time to focus on this goal? Are they willing to give up other priorities? Because if I give you 5 big balls, you'll say, no way, I can just hold one, right?
Right.
So then you have to pick one, and I'll support you in whatever you pick. But
pick one.
yeah, because we may not be able to pick 5 or 6 huge priorities.
Well, yeah, but we think we can.
Then I'll charge you double.
I like that one. I like that one.
You can pick as many as you want. I'll just keep increasing the price.
That would work, wouldn't it?
For me, yes.
Yeah, well, no, but for them too, because they're sitting there going, I'm not going to pay you, 5 times. Okay, how many do you want to pay
That's
for?
right.
I like it.
That's right.
So we were talking a minute ago. Before we came on, you were talking about that you were presenting yesterday on
Brain Health Symposium.
brain health.
And so my talk was on MINI, medication-induced neurocognitive impairment. I like acronyms. As you
Yeah,
see, it's
well,
the
I like
second
that.
one. So it's bizarre. So you, meaning the taxpayer, is paying me to prescribe a medicine, all right? And if I make a mistake, you will pay me again to stop
To fix it.
prescribing that medicine. I love it. It's like, wow. I'm
Well,
paid
that's-
for my
Yeah, that's
all
as
my
good as
mistakes.
playing
The
double.
more
Yeah,
mistakes I make,
I
the
like
more you'll pay me, because I'll see them more and more.
I love it.
So believe it or not, it's so strange, but maybe 20% of my practice is de-prescribing, which means I'm telling folks, all right, let's go through all these medicines. Are they really helpful? These are the side effects. After a certain point, medicines are going to mess with each other. And I really don't think that this is in keeping with the research and state of the science. We have, all kinds of criteria for inappropriate medication use and so forth. Anyway, so you get the gist. So although we talked about all these other factors, exercise, nutrition, attitude, we have to also address this factor. If you're taking too many medicines,
Right.
or if you're experiencing problems that you think is depression, but it's a side effect of the medicine, you don't
Got
need
it.
counseling for that.
So this raises a handful of questions for me. I know that there are some conditions that can express themselves. One I've seen a lot or heard of a lot is UTI, urinary tract infection, that in older folks can make the folks around them think, oh, dementia.
Mhm.
and then they finally work on the UTI and
Right.
find out that, you know what, they're doing pretty good.
Right.
So I guess I'm
Same thing
likening.
can apply to medicines. You know, if they are having forgetfulness, if they're having memory problems, if you and I are having, it's worthwhile to, from this point onwards, because now you've heard me, so you can't say you didn't know.
Got it.
Say, all right, let me stop. Could this be a side effect of the medicine?
Got it.
And if I'm not sure, can I talk to my primary care provider? Can I talk to a pharmacist? Remember, things have got so complex that I would urge you that sometimes me, the primary care providers, may not know enough, and you would need a pharmacist. And they have all kinds of fancy stuff that they can go and tell you all the drug-drug interactions. So even though each drug could be good for you, but they're messing each other up, and now you're having a problem. Then you could replace one with the other, and these two behave with each other, and you're okay.
So give us maybe a trigger that we can go, oh, I really need to, I need to look at this.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Well, definitely, if you're starting a new drug and you see any change, then that should be the first step. But you have to be aware of it, because some other things might be happening. And then you forget that you started this new drug. So you'll say, oh, this is stress, this is allergy, this is something else. I was feeling, cold, maybe this is flu. So you have to really be aware of whenever you start a new drug. And especially if you're starting some drug that has certain brain active properties. So there are even over-the-counter drugs like Benadryl that can mess up with memory. There are other allergy medicines and antihistaminics that can mess up memory. So that would be the first thing. You change any of your medicines, just at least for the few days. It should happen right away. It's not like after 3 months you'll have.
Oh, got it.
You just monitor your mood, your sleep, your
And
attention.
They don't affect everybody the same way.
No.
Yeah.
Correct. And also remember, it also depends on what you're adding to the chemical pool already exists. Plus, it depends on your genetics. Plus, it depends on your medical comorbidity, which means that it may not mess with the drug, like drug-drug interaction, but there could be drug-disease interaction. So if you're taking a sleeping medicine, you have obstructive sleep apnea, the OSA, obstructive sleep apnea, will get worse. That's not good for you. So then your blood pressure will go up and you will think it's stress. There's nothing to do with that.
So if we're a family and we're frustrated with how dad's doing, this would be something to dig into.
And it's a low-hanging fruit.
Very good.
Before you go to $1 million workup, or get freaked out with, oh my, this is the start of dementia,
Oh, very good.
And the new graduates are great at it. New medical students, new residents, but this is still a new science. So don't give up.
I know that St. Al's, Dr. Chad Bolt, a few years back, was working to have a place where they could pull that apart for you.
He has created one, and I'm a part of that.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, St. Alphonsus Geriatric Medicine Clinic.
Yes.
Dr. Kara Coons is one of the geriatricians there. She also spoke yesterday in the Brain Health Symposium. She, in fact, talked about, preventing dementia and all that stuff. So yes, if you're, and they are consult service, I'm part of them. So we are consult service. So you can have your primary care provider refer to them for a detailed assessment. So we would not only just do medication, but, are we missing any medical comorbidities? We have a pharmacist there, we have a social worker there. So we go through biological, psychological, and social risk factors and protective factors.
So we can break down not just say dementia or Alzheimer's.
Everything. Delirium, depression. These are called, geriatric syndromes, but people don't realize the seriousness. Frailty. It's not a diagnosis, but it's a real problem.
Yeah.
So frailty means, you're fatigued, you can't walk more than a block, you can't climb a flight of stairs, you're losing weight, you have like 5+ illnesses. So there you go. So things like that, we do the assessments. Our assessment is like first assessment could be like 2 hours long. It's unheard of.
Well, it seems to me that it would be very difficult to build any resiliency when you're trying to fight through all of this medication induced, issues.
How fast can you drive your car with your brakes on?
Well, I could tell you, no, it's
It's not going to go
very
anywhere.
difficult.
It's not going to go anywhere.
Depends on how bad your brakes are, but it's not good. I'm just telling you, you could, but it's not good for you. So one of the things that we've been talking about is as we get older, things happen.
Mhm.
You've helped us to think through a couple of things such as unrealistic expectations. Oh, we didn't talk about toxic though. And I mean, I think it's kind of understood, but we should maybe address that a little bit.
Well, toxic expectations is, to me, I see that more in like almost like abusive relationships. So you want where one person's expectation is that the other person will not say anything or speak up, or another toxic expectation could be addictions where, that you should just stop this, it's in your control. If I'm addicted to it, then that would be a toxic expectation from me, just to say, just stop drinking or just stop smoking, It's not like I like it either, But
that would be the toxic part of the
that's
cute.
not right.
Yeah.
It's gone beyond unrealistic.
Yeah. Got it. Oh my goodness. But I think that's where we live. It's where we live. There's one other thing I wanted to visit with you a little bit about. This planet has undergone turmoil from the very beginning.
Mhm.
There's just a tremendous amount of conflict now.
Mhm.
We can't even talk politics anymore because we can't argue the issues.
Mhm.
We have to demean the
Mhm.
person on the other side.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we live right now, which I think is another issue that I have with the news cycle is because it's not news for the most part. It's entertainment. And right now we use it to spew hate and conflict. And I don't like that. Right now, though, seems awfully heightened, I think, in part because of the Ukraine situation.
But Ukraine is also happening in the background. So if you see, we are zooming out, you and I, and seeing a 30,000-foot view across distance, all right, and time, right?
Okay.
2 years, 2.5 years. So now we realize that we have entered what I told you earlier is the VUCA world, VUCA.
Okay.
It's not my acronym. It's Mayo Clinic has come out with a fantastic book on burnout in healthcare professionals.
Oh.
So how to prevent. So they have used this word VUCA, VUCA, which is volatile, which means there is widespread, rapid changes. All right.
Okay.
U is uncertain, which means that you can't predict these changes. So today, if you had a good, easy day, tomorrow could be with one email, suddenly everything would change, but you couldn't have predicted that. So it's uncertain. Complex, meaning that there's so many factors that you could not say, oh, this is the reason this happened, because there'll be 5 other factors that are influencing whatever is happening, And then there is ambiguous, which is the hardest, which means that sometimes I do something with the intention that it will help and it will actually cause more problems. All right. So this works again for me, where I just remind myself when I wake up that you're in the VUCA world. So brace up. If you need to wear some bulletproof vests against these
Yeah.
things that could come without you getting any warning, just be prepared. I think it helps me because anticipation helps me. I'm not blinded. My expectations are realistic, which means that if the day goes somehow smoothly, God-given gift.
Take it and run with it.
Yes.
And maybe, I don't know, I, I work with, I live with, people that have this tendency to I say overthink, they just work on it and they.
That's what I mean by just living over here. Remember, one of the things in stress, an expert has said, again, not me, is the cells can listen to your thoughts. And that's why you have accelerated aging. You get that?
Got it.
Yeah. So overthinking is stressing the cells out and you are accelerating your aging.
So for you, you kind of recenter yourself and go, this is where I live. Stuff's going to happen.
Right.
But what do you stop yourself from trying to control everything?
Both, and again, it's good to have a partner and friends because then it's easier to do it together and say, you know what, I can't control this, and everybody agrees. Because I could easily say, I can't control my anger, and my wife will say, this ain't going to fly with me,
That's not 20% there. That's the other one.
That's right. So, and then I have to increase my capacity to live with uncertainty.
Okay.
That's a skill we have to train ourselves. It's not going to just develop overnight.
Hold that thought, because I want to come back to that and expand it in this context and maybe another context. So, but being aware of it, first step.
Yeah. So awareness, acceptance, which means, I've accepted that this is the VUCA world, I'm not going to say, no, tomorrow's going to be a non-VUCA world. I've accepted. Then anticipate. So I'm anticipating that something could dramatically change, and then we have to prepare ourselves, it's like, you've decided to enter a marathon. You can't just say, oh, I'll enter a marathon, never done a marathon, and tomorrow I'll wing it. It's like, really?
I couldn't. Oh my
Your
gosh.
cardiologist would be like, praying,
I would finish the last 25 and a half miles in the ambulance, that's where I would be.
So we have to prepare. This is the real world, we have to help each other prepare. We have to help my wife, my wife to help me. We have to help our son. We have to help friends, and then keep spreading outwards.
And is that the the shock absorber, if you will, these people that know us and close to us, and
humor and social support. Magic, you're golden if you have two. You already have one. I know, silliness quotient, but I'm sure you're great with social support. You have a lot of social support.
Well, yeah, sometimes more than I want. So that's a
good thing. Be grateful, dude. That's like money, it's like.
Got it. Well, and that helps you you've got somebody that can bring you back down as far as your expectations.
Yeah.
Back into the
reality,
reality. Yeah. So like for me, it would be, listen, Mark, you're not going to play linebacker in the NFL. That's just not going to happen. I know. There was a time. But that's not realistic. And so that's why we need that social network, if you will. All right. So here's what I'd like to kind of jump into for a minute is we're getting older.
Chronologically gifted.
And I think that's difficult for so many people to realize that they have resources personally,
right,
and they don't recognize those resources. And
but even one step ahead of that, I would say attitude. We need to fight ageism. Again, my perspective is that aging is a privilege. It was denied to like 95% of our ancestors. All right. And it's denied to maybe, I don't know, 70% of humanity even now,
Even now.
So we need to just, and I definitely am less neurotic than even 5 years ago. But
Well, and so that's where I wanted to go with this is, I know this affects people differently, but as we're moving along, I'll give you an example. I had somebody say, well, listen, if you're going to put this on the internet, most of your clients won't even, won't be able to log on. I go, oh, I don't think that's right. We work with a lot of folks that are more technically savvy than I am, right?
That was probably 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, well, but the folks that I look at and go, I could see myself there. I would like to see myself there.
Right.
These are people that continue to learn, are open to these new things.
Correct.
And I'm guessing, this is what I'm going to ask then, is this is a way to develop some of that resilience, is the ability to go, oh, this is new.
Correct.
I'm going to take it on.
Correct. Yeah. There's no way out, stepping the right amount outside your comfort zone. So you're not unrealistic, but you're not staying status quo.
Got it.
In all physical activity, in cognitive activity, in social activity, if you have social anxiety, in nutritional, you're sort of diversifying of your food is like just for same food. No, we need to diversify that.
Got it. Which can mean that we should try Indian food.
Yes.
Do some curry.
Oh, yes.
I got it. I mean, Italian food, I'm good with. Give me some Italian food. But Indian food, I'm not as familiar with
spices, and there's a whole science of the value of spices for health, So you'll I think enjoy most likely you'll enjoy the taste, plus the spices can have health benefits,
Well, and it's just a new cultural experience.
Correct. If nothing else, it'll be something new. You've tried it. You may not like it, but that's all right. You've tried something new,
Well, so where I'm headed with this is that as we sometimes have to make some very difficult decisions. I've told the story. We had a lady. This was some years back. She was living in the house where she raised her family. It was 4,500 square feet, not a small house, up in the north end there.
Right.
Built in the 50s. It was a great place to raise kids. She lost her husband. Kids don't live anywhere near Boise.
Right.
And it was time, definitely time for her to make a change.
Right.
And she was having considerable, issues with.
That's an understatement.
Making this decision. And so I don't know if this was good or bad, but she said, well, I'm hanging on to this because my kids want this house. I said, well, great, let's give them a call. And I'm never moving back to Boise. I don't know. Mom, I don't want the house. I don't know why you're keeping it for me. You need to find a place where you're safe, and comfortable.
Good.
I don't know if we should have confronted her with it. I don't know if that was the best thing to do. But that was a very, very difficult decision. And I see that one absolutely all the time. Now, there's a number of other decisions.
But same thing, I would tell you the same thing I do. Before that, I would say, all right, first, let's talk about what matters to you. Because again, you can't have the cake and eat it too. So let's talk about it. Like, CTJD, come to Jesus talk.
So sit down and go, okay. I know you love the house and I know you want it for your kids.
If that matters to you, and being independent and, not getting injured matters to you, you have to pick one.
Okay, so they go, okay, yeah, no, I get that, but I just can't leave this house, or there's, there are other reasons, but um, how do we keep ourselves able to, roll with those punches? Is this all resiliency? This is,
To me, it is because there is fear. There's this fear of change. She's afraid, you know, of change. What does that mean? It's hard for her to acknowledge that this is reality. It's a tough pill to swallow. And that's where we help her with normalizing that, yes, it is terrifying, but we are with you every step, and things will somehow work out. But we have to do this.
I've had the experience where we were finally successful working with a family to move someone to, and I remember the old nursing homes, and they were stark and
I know. Heartbreaking. Yeah.
and I haven't been in one of those. I don't know if you can
No.
find.
I work in nursing homes, and to me, if to me, it's the people that matter. Sometimes we don't realize that and want fancy looking places, but the nursing homes I work with, the people are phenomenal and their heart is in the right place.
Yes.
You can't get better than that.
And I've grown fond of a couple of places that are a little older, but they have the right folks.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, so we've gotten dad and mom to move finally.
Mm-hmm.
And then within a couple of months, dad's irritated. Well, why didn't you tell me about this? Why did I have to figure this out for myself?
Right.
Well, first of all, because he had to, but second of all, they do. I think that's one of those. We have this myth that when you get to a certain age, you can't adapt.
Right.
It's hard. You can't do it.
Correct.
You don't expect that to happen.
Correct.
And I don't think that's true, but
No.
I think it's a myth that we have.
It is. It is. It's one of the many myths that actually compromise our lives. The same thing. It's the myth that we will lose memory as we age, and that we won't be independent as we age. So we have to. So all this is fighting ageism. These are all wrong things, not true. But also the case that you described, we have to ask ourselves whether the parents are being cute. Because then I will tell the children that your parents are being cute and you protect yourself. Their expectations are crushing, unrealistic, and toxic.
Got it. Very good. What else can you tell us about the different factors, things that we're exposed to that can affect our brain health that we should maybe pay attention to?
Well, has anybody talked about air pollution?
Well, I was just going to say, are you ready? I was just going to say, what about hairspray? Okay, that's an overstatement.
I know. But now air pollution is an established risk factor for dementia. It's like, oh my goodness, yes, there are 12 risk factors for dementia. And I'm, part of a superb Alzheimer's disease and related disorders Idaho plan for the next 3 years. And one of the goals is to educate as many Idahoans as possible about these 12 reversible risk factors for dementia, I feel from the age of 18, because some of the risk factors start early,
Well,
anyway.
Eric was here, Eric Collette, and he was saying, it's better to prevent this, guys. You should prevent it. And I go, yeah, I'm working with folks that are along the path here. So Eric, I need to talk to them.
Correct.
It's hard.
But remember, the realistic part will come in where 40% are preventable, but that's on paper.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
So even if everybody means you, me, everyone over here, everywhere in the world does everything, you will have 40% preventable, which means, if I factor in the realistic factor, I would bring it down to like 20%.
Got it.
which means the other 80% will need our help. And I could be one of them.
Yeah. So air pollution, talk to me a little bit about that. I mean, because here, when I moved here, I don't remember all of the forest fires.
Yeah.
Right.
And now you have air quality index, another reason to freak out, right?
Yeah. Well, there you go. I'm freaking out about that.
So again, you first say just chill. If you have to smile, if forced smile is okay. and then find out, so again, it's all relative. If the air pollution, the negative air quality is only occasional, then it's not an issue for you living in Boise, and you have 5 other factors that would give you more health than this one. But if you're living in, like, I don't know, Seattle or Philadelphia, I came from Philadelphia, Baltimore, I would say move.
Los Angeles, that area, you can see it every day. Yeah.
So again, we have to realize that we have to focus on the environment. There's you focus on ourselves, right? So self-care and all that stuff. Then helping each other out. But now there's a third factor. We have to improve the environment, which is not just air, water, and all kinds of other things.
What are some of the other factors besides air pollution?
Oh, to me, really, we again underestimate the health effects of sensory issues.
Okay.
So reduced hearing is a risk factor for dementia.
Oh yeah. Well, it leads to isolation.
So no. Separately, even if it doesn't lead to isolation, your brain networks are not getting that constant stimulation, interaction. So this live discussion is dramatically increasing your brain cortical activity to a very high level. You're paying attention, you're listening, you're understanding the receptive language.
At least
you're expressing,
listening. But you said a forced smile's okay.
Yes. So it's a much deeper neurological effect than just social effects of lack of hearing. Our brains are created for hearing sounds and interacting and all that.
So music.
So vision and hearing, don't underestimate.
Oh God.
There's no upper limit to what you should be doing to make sure you're doing the best you can.
So protecting your hearing is high on the list.
Yes. Prevention is better than cure.
Exposing yourself to maybe I'm thinking music. I love music. Mm-hmm. That's part of my heritage.
Yeah.
And so that's a good thing.
Yeah, but also step outside your comfort zone and listen to some other country's music, like India.
I've tried to listen to the sitar.
There you go.
It's not my favorite thing.
That's okay, but you tried. Yeah. So again, so remember the way I talked about physical exercise. If you try something new, even though subjectively you didn't enjoy it, the cognitive benefits could be more than engaging in another music that you enjoyed subjectively, but cognitive benefits were not that much. There were emotional benefits, pleasure. That's a good thing. We all want to have pleasure. So we have to just keep that in mind, that we need both. We need fun and pleasure, but we need really to have variety in terms of culture, in terms of people, age groups. If you're not interacting enough with children and younger generation, I would say change that.
Got it. And we're talking also then about pushing us out of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
We don't have to live out there, although I know some people that love it.
Right. But again, the problem is the more we share the actual research, that I think, because we are all in our Western world, if I hear research, I'm more worried to do it than, anyway, that's just my bias. So if we share the phenomenal research of how your biochemistry changes, your immune function changes, your chromosomes change, the speed at which your white cells move, your brain, that will change, and then obviously, we have to remind each other, it's easy to say, tomorrow.
Yeah. Get it done today.
Hard life today. You know,
So sight, hearing, and a couple aspects.
all senses, all, you know,
Got it.
because we are living in our minds, Mark. We need to really, that's imbalance. It's not a bad thing, but it's imbalance if it's like 10% living in the body. You know, you're not just aware of the air and the smells and the touch. That's high. We are a hyper cognitive society.
Yeah. So
So fishing or anything like that,
fishing,
being in nature would help that balance.
yeah. Getting out and walking, experiencing that. Walk by
But
the.
but again, two kinds of walking. Walking where you're in your mind.
That's
So if somebody says, you know, there was 5 clowns who passed by, you said, what are you talking
yeah,
about?
I didn't see that. Yeah, now I can appreciate that. And so the suggestion here would be notice what's going on.
Live in the sensory world.
Got it.
Live in the body. It's a skill again, because it's so used to living in the intellectual world, you know.
Well, but that's how we organize everything, right? This is it brings it in. What other factors? I'm just now just straight up curious, what other factors?
So again, you know, to me, education is a risk factor for dementia, right? And that starts early. But, you know, I would even urge people to go back to school.
Got it.
You know, if you are that person who loves to learn, you're a lifelong student, you know, you'll be experiencing flow. Has somebody talked about flow?
We haven't talked about flow.
Flow means, you know, you ask yourself, which activity you are lost, the world has disappeared.
Yeah.
That's flow. You're experiencing flow. So again, if I walk throughout the day with you or anyone over here, and I track flow, if it comes to 0, you get an F.
It wasn't good. Well,
You are heading for disaster.
you would
I'm
find,
just kidding, but
well, no, but you would find me pointing out things. Because that's my experience. As a young man, we went backpacking with Dad, and we went backpacking in some incredible country, and we would stop and breathe and take that in. And I find myself pointing things out to my wife.
Okay.
You know,
there you go.
I think she lives. I know I do too, but I think that when we're walking, we got to get this done, and she's worried about the day. And I'm sitting there going, "Oh, look at this rose! Isn't this awesome? Look at that! It's just about ready to, you know, to unfold." And you know, and on my phone, I have I don't know, about a gazillion photos of the sunrise, because we're out in the morning, and we have.
Well, you know that I have a direct channel to your wife, and she says that for everything he does another 10 things that he's not talking about that you ask me.
Yeah, I know. And you could, and she would tell you. But
You're right.
those are things. Just
But
the sunset is amazing.
right, but that's what if you're not doing it, you're doing it. But if somebody's not doing it, that's the way to rebalance your life.
Got it.
That's different from everything else we've talked about, you know, and we have to. To me, you know, we are accountable for ourselves a little bit, right?
Well, yeah, that 20%, when you say, you know, 80% is outside, and those are things that we need.
You
to
and
do.
I, correct.
But that 20% is bigger than you might think, right? There's a lot in that 20% that needs to be done.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got just a few more minutes. What else? What else should we be thinking, doing? Anything that we can do to either recenter our thinking on the myths,
Right.
or to build our, you know, our resilience,
Right.
in order to move forward with a higher quality life.
Well, have you spoken about attitude?
We've not talked about attitude. I mean, it's been implied. But
William James, you know, he's the father of modern Western psychology. He says, and I have a lot of his quotes, that your attitude will decide more than 50% the chances of you achieving your goals or success.
Okay, well, expand on
So-
that.
so-
Great.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
said that, but what does that mean?
So attitude means, that it could be like a proactive attitude than a reactive. So let problems happen and then I'll do it rather than, no, I'm going to be proactive in terms of my health, my relationships, and so forth. So that would be an attitude. Another is defiance. That's an attitude where I'm not going to let all this negativity in the world to get to me. I'm not. It's a decision. It's a choice.
And
That's
then,
an attitude.
and then with that attitude, you will then undertake activities that will back that attitude. That will inform
I
things
feel
you do.
this is just my perspective. That attitude will influence the choice of your activities. So it's the other way around. If you have the right attitude, that will influence. So then later, if with that attitude, whenever you come to a crossroad, you have this choice or that choice, reacting with anger or just saying, all right, I'm not going to send the email right now.
To the wrong person.
You're right. Or that, this person is just toxic and negative, but I'm not going to let them get to me because of this defined attitude. It'll influence how you exercise your choices.
Got it. And if you can combine that with the sense of humor where you sit there and smile a little bit and go,
You're golden.
that's the way it
Now,
is.
just for you to know, to me, sense of humor is different from silliness.
Oh, very good.
So it's sometimes a lot of people have good sense of humor, but it's like caustic,
Oh, yeah.
witty
yeah,
sense
yeah.
of humor. They like that, but they can't be silly. There are two different networks, two different benefits, So it's like if you had an investment which gave you 20% return, all right, why would you not do it? Because you can't handle silliness. I'm telling you, there's so many people who are so serious. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but I think
It's like the whole weight is on their shoulders. It's like, really?
yeah, that tends to be our defense mechanism, right? That we need to be serious and take it that way. Well, listen.
But if Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, tells us humor is a weapon for the soul, I don't need anybody else's permission to be silly just to survive.
I've read his work and it's amazing.
It is.
And yeah, if he can figure that out, we can do that.
Question that?
Well, listen, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Appreciate that immensely. We should do this more often.
Oh, you're fabulous.
That's what everybody says. We need to do this more often. And we walk out going, I don't know when I'll do that again.
The problem is because you blink. You blink, another year will go by. No blinking, Mark.
I claim that's why kids grow up is because we sleep. If we just stayed awake the whole time, they'd still be kids.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
All right. Well, very good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break. You know, the game here, there's the bio break. Go take care of that. And if you need some caffeine, we'll understand. And we'll be back here in just a few minutes.